The All-American Otaku Show.
Welcome to the All-American Otaku Show. Today's subject is obscure anime and manga. Obscurity comes into several forms. Obscure because it was only a cult classic when it came out, or it's not as didn't become well known to the US audience or the world audience as some others, and sometimes it's time. Sometimes top anime back in the day, like Ninja Scroll, become obscure anime because it's been so long since they're released and newer stuff comes out all the time. One of these animes that became obscure is Vampire Hunter D. And this was a very popular anime at the time. It spawned movies, it spawned video games, various manga, art books, all sorts of things. But time comes out. You have Hellsing that came out. You have various other animes that came out of vampire or different types that it soon became obscure. One of the animes that I remember that was very obscure, very few people remember, is an anime called MGD Geist. It has mechas in a post-apocalyptic world, in a world that was plagued with nuclear weapons. And this one soldier who ends up getting this armor, he was called MGD Geist, Mega Death Geist. Each one of these members have these dog tags, and they're more enhanced human beings, and they're experts at killing things, as well as killing other people. There's other MD people throughout this anime movie. This movie is back in the 90s, where it's the ultra-violent stage. There was blood, guts, sex, violence, all sorts of things back in this one. MD Geist was very intricate, very Mad Max-ish, and I think it would do fairly well today. Very few people heard of. Another anime that was obscure back in the day is Those Who Hunt Elves. This funny anime is one of the early isekai that are very prominent today. These people from our world and a tank get transported into the world of lights and magic with elves, fairies, dwarves, all sorts of things. But the only way to get back to their home is to find all these markings on various different elves. This all come in there because the head elf got distracted by one of the main characters saying, "Oh, she's going to get naked. She's going to show me her boobs." This caused the spell to go awry and put marks on all these various different elves and elf-like creatures. So the main characters have to hunt elves to strip off their clothes and find out the mark, and then do the enchantment, and then have the enchantment get embodied onto their body. This keeps on going to various different things, and it goes to hilarious stuff like the elf character would have a black eye, or the elf character who's trying to do the ritual will gain a black eye, will gain spots, gain a mustache, drawn on mustache, or drawn on beard. This is meant to be very humorous, and eventually they have put some magical blood on the tank, and the tank itself becomes alive. Oh yeah, by the way, they have a tank in this fantasy world. This anime is very hilarious, up to a fish person who doesn't know how to swim in water, or finding an elf underground that's cussing, "Oh, you're not going to strip me," and all this just to find their way home. This was an early 90s anime, very funny, very obscure, you would say, and I highly would recommend it. Another anime that's become very obscure is Normangon. And this is a more recent obscure anime that came in around the 2000s. This involves a a child soldier named Jonah, who's after his family was killed, and then he was taken into a military force as a child soldier, and eventually he ends up killing them because they killed one of the other orphan kids, and that he had respect for. And after killing them and found out that an arms dealer was dealing arms with these despicable people, he decides to shy away from guns and weapons. But being in the predicament he's sent to guard an arms dealer named Koko Hekmitar, or something of that effect. And doing this, he has to use guns, and he's highly trained with these guns, as well as other soldiers. Like there's this one soldier who uses knives, has a thing for Coco, and she's trying to build this satellite weapon that could eliminate all other weapons. This ultimate weapon, where the person who has the specs of this weapon is none other than a scientist who loves butterflies. Will go to out of the ordinary areas to find these butterflies, take pictures of them, get samples of them, and find out how these butterflies exist. But she is also good at aeronautics, where she creates this satellite thing called Normangon. And as this arms dealer is trying to do all these deals and won't do deals that will affect an endless war or endless violence. Also, the arms dealer and the gang do not like pirates. So much so they slaughter all the pirates who try to come up on them, and the pirate was sent by itself, Kid was sent by itself to fend for itself. This is a highly great anime, a lot of guns, a lot of action, a lot of pow, a lot of explosions. This anime falls into the same long lights of another anime called Black Lagoon, where it's about pirates and a kind of town that doesn't really exist, but it's mostly an idea for outlaws and pirates and gangs and mafia. Normangon, excellent anime, but very few people I know have actually heard this anime. This anime is a must-watch for action fans and people who like an anime like Black Lagoon. Another major obscure anime that's become obscure now, Fist of the North Star. It's a post-apocalyptic anime with a lot of fighting, a lot of powers and things. And this is anime, even though it's considered obscure to most people, is one of the favorite anime of none other than John Cena. This anime is highly excellent, highly martial arts ability. I highly recommend that anime there. Here's Mr. Pat on his manga review.
Covering, which is called mangas, as far as called obscure mangas. As far as the obscure goes, I chose three of these obscure mangas for particular reasons that appeal to me in each different way. I have a first one that's called Siren. I'm not going to go in detail of each of these ones, but Siren appealed to me because it is a shonen type format that has to deal with post-apocalyptic world that they find themselves in, and it's done in a game show kind of format. And later on in the series, they have a exit point of grabbing a phone that pulls them back. You think it's easy to get point A, point B, but no, it's really messed up. Next one I have is called Gamblefish. Kind of weird, but it says what it does. It's a gamble school that this gentleman finds himself in, and he's trying to find out about why his dad was brutally murdered. And what I have found about really interesting about this one is this guy that does all these gambling and what he puts up is pretty crazy. The one I think of the most is that one card game, and his bat was cutting off his own hand, and yeah, it's pretty interesting. And the last one I have chosen, well, sounds like directly from a movie, but it's also a manga. It's called Arachnid. This one is basically school girl meets uh, assassin serial killer, and she finds out that she has this particular gene that was causing her problems at school, but is actually useful. And as far as this story goes, I love the concept of, anti-bullying in a nutshell, because she was bullied because she had this disorder that actually works for her assassin-like abilities. And what's called arachnid is because she has kind of a garrote kind of knife weapon that she uses to spin webs. Again, a really good one. So the common thread I have about these manga is, if you notice that I'm kind of just skimming over, is it's heavily character driven. It's each of these ones will take a lot more effort to me explain, but as far as these stories go, and I've chose 3 different kinds of formats, and the character just works for each one. I mean, like the Gamblefish, there's like one main character and 6 to 7, 8 different characters that, are side characters. Some are bad at first but join his side. And then there's an antagonist with that one that is really looks like the Joker in a nutshell. So when I say character driven, it's pretty crazy. I mean, the Arachnid one, the girls gets bullied by all these people that because she stares off into space and causes problems with normal life. She eventually figures out through an accident, and she ends up finding out that disorder causes her to be able to, be more functional as assassin. And then that Siren one, it has like one main character, one heroine, and then 5 different main characters, kind of slash side. So as you see it is the description, and I said the common thread is just it's huge character driven. I recommend these kind of obscure anime because I think not many people would have heard any of these, and each of them have a different kind of format. I mean, Siren is what you call it, shonen. Gamblefish, I think, is not a shonen. You see the trend. Uh, each of the and then Arachnid is more horror slash maybe a little bit of gore, uh, psychological effect. So I recommend these. Give these a whirl because not many people have heard, Gamblefish, Siren, or Arachnid. Now, granted, Arachnid is a movie, but this one is actually a manga. So,